Okay, so I want you to imagine a room.
Right.
A huge cavernous room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's packed. There are millions of people in there all screaming at the top of their lungs all at the same time.
Okay, that's a stressful image.
It is. And some of them, they're holding up these cute pictures of cats with funny captions.
The classics.
Right. And then standing right next to them are people solving these incredibly complex math problems. Stuff that has stumped university professors for decades.
And this is all happening in the same room.
In the same room,
Yeah.
shoulder to shoulder. But then you look over, and right there are people plotting how to just completely ruin a stranger's life. Or, worse.
It's a terrifying image, and I think the part that makes it truly unnerving is that the lights are off.
Exactly. The lights are off.
You can't see anyone's face. You have no idea if the person next to you is a Nobel Prize winner, a bored teenager, or a domestic terrorist.
That room exists. It's not a physical place, obviously. It's a website. It's a website that The Guardian once described as, and I love this quote, lunatic, juvenile, brilliant, ridiculous, and alarming.
All in the same breath.
All in the same breath. We are talking, of course, about 4chan.
The asshole of the internet, as it has been so, affectionately dubbed.
By its own community, no less.
Ugh, they wear it like a badge of honor.
They do. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people get wrong. They write 4chan off. They think, oh, that's just that weird anime site from 2005, or, that's where the hackers live.
A relic of the old internet.
But it's not. As of 2022, this site was pulling in over 22 million unique visitors every single month.
That's the population of a decent-sized country.
It's huge.
It's not a relic. I think a better metaphor is an active volcano.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating to me and terrifying is the sheer range of what comes out of that volcano. You have the Rickroll, completely harmless, silly fun that your grandma knows about. And then from the same source, you get the alt-right, you get Gamergate, and you get legitimate body count violence.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We aren't just here to, recite a history lesson. We're trying to really figure out the mechanics of it.
The architecture.
How does one simple website, built by a 15-year-old kid in his bedroom, manage to be the birthplace of lolcats and the inspiration for mass shootings?
The code itself shapes the behavior. It's not an accident.
And we have to talk about the now, the present day. Because if you haven't been paying attention, 4chan has had a wild, wild 12 months.
To say the least.
I mean, we're talking about the massive hack in April 2025 that took the entire site dark for weeks.
And the current very intense legal war they are fighting with the British government. This is happening right now.
So just a quick heads up before we really get into the weeds here.
Yeah, this is important.
We are going to be discussing some heavy stuff. I mean, really heavy. Radicalization, harassment, suicide, violence. They're all integral parts of the 4chan story.
We're reporting on this as it happened based on the source material. It's factual.
Right. We aren't endorsing any of this, not for a second. We're just trying to understand it.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's go back, way back. October 1st, 2003. The internet looked completely different.
Oh yeah, no Facebook, no Twitter, no YouTube as we know it.
Mark Zuckerberg was still in a dorm room. And in New York City, there was a 15-year-old named Christopher Poole.
Online, he was known as Moot.
Lowercase mean.
Always. And like a lot of 15-year-olds in 2003, he was really, really into anime.
But he wasn't just watching it on Toonami after school. He was deep in the forums.
Specifically, the Something Awful forums. Now, Something Awful is legendary in its own right, a pillar of old internet culture. But for Poole, it had a problem.
What was the problem?
It was too moderated, too structured, and frankly, you had to pay $10 to join.
The $10 barrier. I remember that. That actually kept a lot of people out. It was a quality filter in a way.
It was. But Poole was looking for something else, something wilder, and he was looking east. He was fascinated by a Japanese image board called Futaba Channel.
Which is also known as 2chan.
Right. 2chan was the template. In Japan, it was already massive, it was anonymous, it was chaotic, and it was entirely image-based, which was novel at the time. Poole wanted to create an English-language version of that for his friends to talk about anime.
I love this part of the story, the actual creation, because I think people imagine this sophisticated software engineering project, this stroke of genius.
It was the absolute opposite of that. He didn't write the code from scratch. He went to Futaba Channel, he found their open source script, and, this is the best part, he ran the text through AltaVista Babelfish to translate it.
AltaVista Babelfish?
Yeah.
That just unlocked a core memory for me. That was the Google Translate of the Stone Age.
It was terrible. It barely worked, but it worked just enough to get the site running. He rented a server using his mother's credit card.
Without her knowing, I assume.
Oh, unbeknownst to her, yes.
Huh?
And launched 4chan.net.
So it's literally just a copy-paste job.
Copy-paste job.
By a 15-year-old.
With his mom's credit card.
And a really clunky old translation tool. It's amazing it even worked.
And initially it was just 2 boards. That's it. A for anime and B for random.
And B became the monster. But before we get into the culture, I want to drill down on those mechanics you mentioned earlier. Because 4chan does not work like Facebook. It doesn't work like Reddit. It doesn't work like X or anything else you use today.
Not at all. The architecture, the very bones of the site, are defined by 2 things: anonymity and ephemerality.
Okay, let's start with anonymity. On Twitter or Instagram, your identity is your currency. You want followers, you want clout, you build a brand.
Exactly. You are building a personal brand. Your past posts haunt you. Your reputation, good or bad, precedes you. On 4chan, there is no registration. You don't sign up. You don't have a profile picture.
You just show up.
You just show up. And when you post, unless you manually type in a name, which almost nobody does, the system assigns you the name anonymous.
So everyone is the same person.
Yeah.
Or no person at all.
In a sense, yeah. It creates what people call a hive mind. And think about the psychology of that for a second. If I post something brilliant, I don't get the credit. Anonymous gets the credit. If I post something absolutely horrific, I don't get the blame.
Anonymous gets the blame.
It completely flattens the hierarchy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in normal social setting, on Twitter, if a famous person says something stupid, people still listen because they're famous.
Right.
And if nobody says something incredibly smart, it might just get ignored. On 4chan, the only thing that matters is the content of the post itself, the image and the text. It doesn't matter who you are.
That sounds ideally that sounds kind of democratic.
In theory, yes, it's a pure meritocracy of ideas. But the flip side of that coin is what psychologists call the online disinhibition effect.
Right.
When you strip away identity, when you strip away accountability, people stop behaving like they're in a civilization. The social contract just dissolves.
So you get the rawest, most unfiltered version of the human id.
Precisely. Now add the second pillar to that, ephemerality.
The site has no memory.
This is so crucial to understanding it. Christopher Poole gave a talk in Vienna back in 2009 where he explained this perfectly. 4chan does not archive threads.
So there's no scroll back to see what they said last year.
There's no scroll back to see what they said 10 minutes ago. A board like B moves at breakneck speed. A new thread is posted. If people comment on it, it gets bumped to the top. If nobody comments, it slides down.
Yeah.
Once it hits page 10 or 15, depending on the board's settings, it falls off the edge of the world. Deleted. Gone forever.
So if you post something and nobody replies in 5 minutes, it effectively never happened.
That's it. And that creates a very, very specific evolutionary pressure on the content.
Survival of the fittest meme.
Exactly. If you want an idea or a prank or a meme to survive on 4chan, you can't just post it once and hope people find it in the archives later. There are no archives.
You have to repost it.
You have to repost it. And other people have to like it enough to save it to their own hard drives and then repost it themselves.
It forces the community to become the filter.
It's natural selection on speed, only the content that triggers a strong, immediate reaction, whether it's funny, shocking, disgusting, or catchy, survives. Everything else, all the boring stuff, is incinerated immediately.
That explains so much about why the culture is so extreme. You have to be loud to be heard before you're deleted.
It favors high-impact, low-context content, and that brings us to the visual structure. It's an image board. You can't just post text to start a thread. You have to post a picture.
And looking at the list of boards now, there are over 75 of them, and some are totally normal.
Yeah.
O for automobiles.
Yeah.
Cark for cooking, hobbies.
And then there is B.
The random board. The sources, they paint a pretty vivid picture of B. One description I read calls it a high school bathroom stall.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Another says it's the kid with a collection of butterfly knives and a locker full of porn.
Yeah, that's the aesthetic. So what are the rules on B?
There are almost no rules. The only hard rule is no illegal content, so no child pornography, though that has been a constant grueling battle for the moderators for 20 years.
But everything else?
Everything else goes. Gore, hate speech, pornography, the most grotesque humor you can imagine. It is the unfiltered subconscious of the internet, for better, or very often, for worse.
And yet, out of that sewer.
Yeah.
We got some of the most recognizable pieces of pop culture of the last 2 decades.
Well, this is the paradox. This is the whole thing. You cannot separate the genius from the slime. They are born from the exact same mechanism.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the light side for a minute, the creative engine. Because if we just sit here and say 4chan is bad, we miss the entire point of why people go there in the first place.
People go there because it's funny, and because it's, against all odds, surprisingly clever.
Okay, case in point, the Rickroll. Everyone knows it. I think my grandma knows what a Rickroll is. But I didn't realize the specific mechanics of how it started on 4chan.
It's a perfect example of the admin directly influencing the culture in a weird way. So, back in 2006, Moot, the founder, was just messing with the user.
Trolling his own site.
Yes. For the lults, that's the only reason anyone does anything there, he implemented a word filter. Anytime someone typed the word egg, the site automatically changed it to duck.
Okay, why?
Just to be annoying. So this created a situation where a pre-existing meme, a specific wheel-based meme called duck roll.
A duck roll.
Someone had photoshopped a duck onto wooden wheels. That's it. That's the whole joke.
Right.
So people would post links with these sensational titles, leaked Halo 3 gameplay, and you click it, and it's just this picture of a duck on wheels. You've been duck rolled. It's a classic bait and switch.
Okay, I'm with you.
Then the trailer for Grand Theft Auto: The Thief comes out. The hype is insane. The traffic is so high it crashes the Rockstar Games website.
I remember that.
So a 4chan user on the video game board, posts a link claiming to be a mirror of the trailer. But it didn't link to the trailer. It linked to Rick Astley's 1987 music video for Never Gonna Give You Up.
And because the Rickroll bait and switch mechanic was already established with the duck roll?
The Rickroll was born.
Yeah.
And it just exploded. It went from a niche 4chan in-joke to being performed live by Rick Astley himself at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
That's an incredible trajectory. Then you have lolcats.
Catterday. Every Saturday, users would just flood the boards with pictures of cats. It was a wholesome tradition, in a way, and it created the visual language of internet memes as we know them.
The impact font, the blocky white text with the black outline.
The misspelled captions like, I can has cheeseburger. That didn't start on Facebook. It wasn't born on Reddit. It started on 4chan.
It's just so weird to think that the way we communicate online using images with text overlays to convey an emotion or a joke was basically standardized by a bunch of anonymous anime fans.
It's the dominant vernacular of the modern world. But it's not just, silly memes. We absolutely have to talk about the Harui problem.
I love this story. I love it because it makes all the experts and academics look so foolish. So break this down for me.
Okay, so we're on the Sci board, science and math.
Which is already a funny concept to be an anonymous math board where everyone is just called anonymous.
It's surprisingly rigorous. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense, but there's also real discussion. So in 2011, an anonymous user posts a question about an anime.
Of course it's about an anime.
The show is called The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Now, this show has a really weird release structure. The episodes were aired out of chronological order.
Classic confusing anime stuff.
Right. And the user wanted to know, what is the shortest possible list of episodes you would need to watch to see every single possible permutation of the order?
Okay, my brain just broke. What does that mean?
It means if you have, say, 3 episodes, you want a single string of episode numbers where you can find the sequence 1, 2, 3, but also 1, 3, 2, and 2, 1, 3, and so on for all 6 possibilities in the shortest way possible.
Right.
Mathematically, this is a known problem called a superpermutation. It's in a field called combinatorics. And it is incredibly difficult to calculate once you get past a certain number of items.
It sounds hard.
It had been an unsolved problem in mathematics for about 25 years. Mathematicians had lower bounds and upper bounds for the solution, but no exact efficient formula.
And a 4chan user just cracked it to watch their cartoon.
Pretty much. An anonymous poster, who was likely just trying to optimize their anime watching, posted a solution. They wrote out a proof. A simple, elegant proof.
Did they know what they were doing? Did they know they were solving a huge math problem?
It's completely unclear. They treated it like a casual puzzle. Just, here, I figured this out. And the most amazing part is it took professional mathematicians 7 years to find this post.
7 years.
It wasn't until 2018 that a mathematician stumbled on it, verified it, and realized that this anonymous weeb had significantly advanced the field of combinatorics.
That is incredible. It completely validates the hive mind theory. If you put 1 million anonymous monkeys at typewriters, eventually one of them solves a superpermutation.
It's crowdsourced intellect in its purest form. And we see it on the music board, Moo, too.
Moo is notorious for being pretentious, right? Like, the snobbiest music fans on the planet.
That's incredibly. But they are also powerful tastemakers. They championed bands like Neutral Milk Hotel and Death Grips way, way before the mainstream critics at Pitchfork caught on.
So they're ahead of the curve.
And sometimes they might even be part of the creative process. There's a very persistent rumor that the pop star lord was a moo lurker.
Really? How did that start?
Well, in late 2012, a user posted a recording of the song Royals on Moo, just asking for feedback. This was months before it was officially released.
Get away.
And the users, in typical Mew fashion, just ripped it apart. They critiqued it brutally. Later, when Lorde got famous, people went back and looked at the timestamp in the file. It seems legitimate.
So she used 4chan as an anonymous focus group.
It's possible she's denied it, but the evidence is compelling. Another time, a user on Mo posted about a dream they had where Kanye West released a sequel to The Life of Pablo. They described the album in detail. The board then collectively decided to make that album.
They made the album from the dream.
They did. It's called The Death of Pablo. It's a massive remix album created by dozens of anonymous users, all based on one guy's dream.
That's a collaborative art on a level that's hard to comprehend.
It is. But this creative energy, this ability to organize, it can be directed elsewhere.
To activism, projectionology. This feels like the moment where the pranksters realized they had actual real-world power.
This is the turning point, 2008. The site is 5 years old. It's established its culture.
To set the scene for us.
A video leaks online. It's an internal Scientology video that was never meant for public viewing, and it features Tom Cruise.
He's talking about the church in this very intense, almost manic way.
Oh, I remember this video. Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, you know you're the only one that can help. That one.
That's the one. The Church of Scientology went into absolute panic mode. They tried to scrub the video from the internet. They sent cease and desist letters. They threatened lawsuits against anyone hosting it.
And 4chan took that personally.
They saw it as an act of censorship. And if there's one thing that the 4chan hive mind hates, it's people telling them what they can and can't see. A thread started on B. Someone said, essentially, we need to destroy these guys.
But usually that just means, online pranks.
And it started that way. Ordering thousands of unpaid pizzas to Scientology centers, sending them all black faxes to drain their ink cartridges, just classic low-level harassment.
Did it for the lots. But then it escalated. A video was uploaded to YouTube by a user calling themselves Anonymous. It had a robotic, text-to-speech voice, a graphic of static. And the message was, "We are anonymous, we are legion, we do not forgive, we do not forget. Expect us."
Chills. I mean, that's iconic now.
It went massively viral. And then something completely unprecedented happened. They organized a real-world protest.
Getting people to leave their computers and go outside. For 4chan users, that seems impossible.
On February 10th, 2008, thousands of people gathered outside Scientology centers in cities all over the world. London, New York, Sydney, LA. But they had a problem. They are anonymous. They needed to stay anonymous in real life.
So they wore the masks.
They wore the Guy Fawkes mask from the movie V for Vendetta. And the reason wasn't even that deep. It was simply the only mask that was available in bulk at costume stores at the time.
So practicality created a global symbol.
It did, and suddenly you had this visual army. It proved that the hive mind could manifest in physical reality. It could put bodies on the street.
That feels like the absolute peak of the light side, or at least the gray side. They were fighting a controversial organization. They felt like digital vigilantes.
They were the underdogs. It was a David and Goliath story. But power is addictive. And the tools they sharpened during projectionology doxing, swarm harassment, media manipulation, those tools didn't go away when the protests stopped.
No, they were just waiting for a new target. And this is where we have to pivot. We have to, kill the laughter for a minute. Because the story of 4chan is not just about funny cats and fighting Scientology.
No. It gets dark, and I don't mean edgy internet dark. I mean life-ruining, life-ending dark.
The shift, it really seems to happen around 2014. That was a watershed year.
That's the year everything changed. The lulz stopped being just for laughs. They became weaponized. The cruelty became the point.
And we have to start with Gamergate.
This was the cultural pivot point, not just for 4chan, but for the entire internet. It started, believe it or not, with a very personal, messy blog post by an ex-boyfriend of an independent game developer named Zoe Quinn.
A breakup post.
Yeah, a long, rambling breakup post. On any other site, in any other community, it would have been ignored.
But on 4chan.
On 4chan, specifically the video game board V and the robot board R9K, it became a lightning rod. It wasn't just about a breakup anymore. It morphed almost instantly into a sprawling conspiracy theory about ethics in video game journalism.
But that was just a cover story,
It's a very thin veil for what it really was. A massive, coordinated harassment campaign against women in the gaming industry. Zoe Quinn, Brianna Wu, Anita Sarkeesian.
And when we say harassment, we aren't talking about mean comments on Twitter.
No, we are talking about industrial-scale abuse, doxing, releasing home addresses, phone numbers, family information, nonstop death threats, rape threats, bomb threats called into events where they were scheduled to speak, people having to flee their homes and go into hiding for months. It was a swarm attack, and it was organized largely on 4chan.
And Moot, the founder, Christopher Poole, he actually stepped in.
He did. And this shocked the user base to its core. He banned all discussion of Gamergate on 4chan. He said it violated the site's rules on personal attacks and witch hunts.
That must have caused a revolt, banning something on the no-rules site.
It was a civil war. Thousands of users left in a rage. They claimed 4chan had been compromised by social justice warriors. They migrated to a new site, 8chan, which was created to be even more lawless and unmoderated.
And 8chan became its own horror story.
It did. But the damage to 4chan's culture was done. The users who stayed were angrier, more radicalized. The Feng trolls had been replaced by ideologues.
And this feeds directly into the rise of the alt-right. We see the board, Poole, politically incorrect, becoming a major force in global politics.
Poole is arguably the most dangerous place on the internet. It actually started as a board called New for News, but it was deleted because it got too racist.
They deleted it for being too racist.
And then they brought it back. They brought it back as Poole, and it just got worse. It shifted from what was originally kind of a left libertarian anti-government vibe in the early days to being the central hub for alt-right and neo-Nazi sentiment online.
Explain the irony part, because you hear that a lot as a defense. Oh, we're not actually racist. It's just a joke. We're just being ironic.
It's a phenomenon called irony poisoning. It works like this. You start by posting a racist meme because it's shocking and taboo, it's edgy, you laugh at the reaction you get, you tell yourself, I'm not a racist, I'm just trolling.
But you keep doing it.
You keep doing it. You're surrounded by other people doing it. And eventually the people who aren't joking show up, the actual sincere white supremacists. And they think they found their people, the lines start to blur.
And suddenly you aren't posting the swastika as a joke anymore. You're starting to believe the things you're saying ironically.
Exactly. And this is how Poole became the primary distribution center for things like the Great Replacement Theory, the conspiracy that white populations are being systematically replaced by immigrants.
And this wasn't just theory being discussed in a dark corner of the internet. It led to real-world action. We have to look at the timeline of violence. It's a literal body count.
The hoaxes came first. In 2006, a grocery clerk caused a panic by threatening dirty bombs at 7 NFL stadiums.
It was a 4chan post.
It was. Then there was the Steve Jobs heart attack hoax that caused Apple's stock to dip. Bomb threats at high schools, but then it turned from hoaxes to murder.
Let's talk about the Port Orchard murder in 2014. This is one of the most disturbing things I've ever had to research for one of these deep dives.
It's horrific. So a user posts on B. The post says, check the news for Port Orchard, Washington in a few hours. He then posts photos of a nude woman's body with what look like red marks around her neck.
He posted the body on the forum.
Yes. And the users initially thought it was fake. It's B. They assume everything is fake. They were joking about it, making light of it.
Of course they were.
Then the user posted more photos. And he wrote, and this is a direct quote, turns out it's way harder to strangle someone to death than it looks on the movies.
My God.
While the users on Key were debating whether this was real or some elaborate prank, the police in Washington were discovering the body of a 30-year-old woman named Amber Coplin. Her killer, David Kalak, had posted her crime scene photos to 4chan before the police had even arrived on the scene.
He turned the audience into accomplices, or at least witnesses after the fact.
It treats murder as content. It gamifies real-life tragedy, and that's the through line to the mass shootings. The Buffalo shooting in 2022.
Peyton Goodwin.
He drove to a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo and killed 10 people. He live-streamed it. And in his manifesto, which he uploaded online, he explicitly traced his radicalization back to Poole.
He named the board.
He said he started browsing 4chan in May of 2020 out of pandemic boredom. He went from looking at memes on the main page to the infographics on Poole about the Great Replacement Theory. 2 years later, he was a mass murderer.
That is the radicalization funnel in action.
Yeah.
You enter for the memes, you stay for the community, and you end up poisoned by the ideology.
And we see the same pattern with the incel movement on R9K. The Toronto van attacker, Alec Manassian, who killed 10 people in 2018, posted on Facebook right before his attack, "The incel rebellion has already begun." He praised Elliot Rodger. He referenced a beta uprising, which was a meme that originated on 4chan.
The site provides the vocabulary and the community for these lonely, angry men to turn their pain outwards into violence.
It's an echo chamber for the absolute worst impulses.
It's heavy. It is incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
And this legacy of violence and chaos, it brings us to the present day. Because 4chan is not just there as a historical artifact, it is currently fighting for its very existence.
Right. Section 4, the modern era. This is the stuff that hasn't made the history books yet because it's all happening right now.
First off, Christopher Poole's gone. He's been gone for a while.
He got out in 2015. He posted a final message and stepped down, citing stress. I can't imagine the stress of running that site for over a decade.
He sold it.
He sold it to Hiroyuki Nishimura,
The founder of 2chan.
the founder of 2chan, the Japanese guy whose code he copied in the first place.
You can't make this stuff up. Talk about full circle.
But Nishimura basically inherited a sinking ship financially. Advertisers won't touch 4chan with a 10-foot pole. At one point, he posted a now famous thread titled "Winter is Coming," where he basically begged users to buy 4chan Pass subscriptions because they couldn't pay the server bills.
So it's always been on the verge of collapse. And then came the hack. April 14th, 2025. Just last year.
This was massive, just catastrophic for them. Imagine you're a user, you log onto the site, you expect the usual chaos. Instead, the site is dead. And there's a message claiming responsibility from a group associated with a rival site called soyjack.party.
Soyjack.party. I can't believe I'm saying these words out loud on a serious deep dive. What is that?
It's a rival image board, a splinter group of former 4chan users. They hated the current moderation on 4chan. They thought it was too soft, if you can believe that.
They thought 4chan was too soft, so they
Yeah.
nuked it.
They didn't just take it offline, they gutted it. They leaked the entire source code. They leaked the email addresses of the volunteer moderators and anyone who had ever paid for a 4chan pass. And worst of all, they even restored deleted threads and boards.
Wait, they broke the ephemerality, that no memory feature. They broke it.
They broke the one sacred rule. For nearly 2 weeks, 4chan was dark. The final post that anyone could see before the plug was pulled was a completely random quote from a Minecraft movie which had just come out.
What was the quote?
Chicken jockey.
Chicken jockey. That was the epitaph of 4chan for 2 weeks.
It was. And it showed that the site is held together by duct tape and string. But the bigger threat to their existence isn't hackers, it's the government, specifically the UK government.
This is the legal battle with Ofcom.
Right. So the UK passed a sweeping new law called the Online Safety Act 2023. And basically it says that if you operate a website that's accessible in the UK, you have a duty of care. You have to protect children from harmful content. You have to implement age verification. You have to remove illegal speech quickly.
These sound like reasonable requirements for a normal business.
They are impossible, existential requirements for a site like 4chan. In June 2025, Ofcom, the UK regulator, opened an investigation. They sent a formal request for information to 4chan's owners.
And how did 4chan respond?
They didn't. They just completely ghosted them.
That is a bold strategy.
Ofcom got angry. They threatened massive fines. Finally, 4chan's legal team responded. And the letter they sent, it was pure 4chan attitude distilled into a legal document.
Do you have the quote?
I do. Their lawyer wrote that 4chan will not pay any penalty and stated that American businesses do not surrender their First Amendment rights to, and this is the key part, foreign bureaucrats.
Wow. Foreign bureaucrats. They really said that.
They basically told the UK government to pound sand. Their argument is that because they are a US company, UK law stops at the border. The internet is global, but their legal obligations are American.
But didn't they take it a step further than just sending a letter?
They did. This is the wild part. On August 27, 2025, 4chan, along with another controversial site, Kiwi Farms filed a lawsuit against Ofcom in a US federal court.
They sued the regulator that was investigating them.
They are asking a U.S. judge to declare that Ofcom has no jurisdiction over them. This is a huge, huge deal. It's a test case for the entire future of the internet. Can a country like the UK or France or Germany enforce their content laws on a US-based platform?
If 4chan loses this case, what happens? They might have to just block access from the entire UK.
Or shut down completely, because if they have to start verifying IDs to comply with age gating rules, the anonymity, the core principle of the site, is dead.
It's a genuine battle for the soul of the open web.
It is the Wild West versus the modern regulated state.
Before we wrap up with those big philosophical questions, I want to briefly touch on some of the specific neighborhoods of 4chan we might have missed.
Yep.
Because the site isn't a monolith. It's a collection of very different, very weird subcultures.
Right. We have to mention R9K again, the robot board.
What is the specific mechanic there that makes it different?
It runs a script called Robot 9000. And the script has one rule. If you post a comment that has heavily repeated text or is identical to a previous post, the script automatically bans you for a short time.
So it forces originality. You have to say something new every time you post.
That was the goal. It was a social experiment. It was supposed to force creativity, to stop people from just spamming the same memes over and over.
And what happened instead?
Instead, it created a culture of people sharing their most intense personal misery, because that was the only thing unique they had to offer. It became the depression engine of the internet, a place for green text stories about social failure, and that, in turn, fueled the incel movement.
A completely failed social experiment.
Catastrophically failed.
Yeah.
Then on the other end of the spectrum, there's MLP, My Little Pony.
Okay, why does a My Little Pony board exist on 4chan?
Because the bronies, the community of adult male fans of the show, were spamming every other board so hard back in 2011 that everyone else revolted. It was a containment strategy. Moot created MLP as a quarantine zone, a ghetto. Go play with your ponies over there and leave the rest of us alone.
And it developed its own entire subculture.
A massive one. Sometimes they would have organized raids against Poole and vice versa, fights between the neo-Nazis and the My Little Pony fans.
You cannot make this stuff up. And what about SOC? The social board.
This is the weirdest, most unexpected anomaly of the last couple of years. In late 2023 or early 2024, an anonymous user on SOC, which is supposed to be for meetups, built and released a 4chan dating app.
A dating app.
Yeah.
For 4chan users, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
And it's called Dupe. And for a brief window, it was trending higher than eHarmony on the App Store. It was filled with trolls and horrible people, obviously, but it was also filled with genuinely lonely people trying to find some kind of connection in this digital wasteland.
It proves that even in the most toxic environment imaginable, people are still desperate not to be alone.
Exactly. It's a very human impulse.
There is one last thing we have to acknowledge before we synthesize all this. The language. We can't do a deep dive without mentioning how 4chan pollutes the global vocabulary.
It's a laboratory for hate speech, a factory for slurs. We mentioned the term Pajit in the outline.
This is a slur against Indian people.
A vicious one. And it started on 4chan around 2015. They created cartoons, memes, stereotypes, a whole racist ecosystem around this word. And now
you see it everywhere.
You see that word on X, you see it in YouTube comments, you probably hear it in schoolyards. 4chan generates derogatory language that then spreads to the rest of the internet like a virus.
It manufactures the weapon and the rest of the internet picks it up and fires it.
That's the perfect analogy.
So here we are. At the end of it all, we've covered the funny cats, we've covered the anonymous math geniuses, we've covered the murderers, we've covered the government lawsuits.
It's a lot to process. It's a dizzying spectrum.
How do we synthesize this?
Yeah.
Because my brain wants to put it in a neat box. I want to say 4chan is evil, shut it down. But then I think about the Harui problem. I think about the freedom of information during Project Chanology.
It is the ultimate paradox of free speech online. 4chan is the Wild West. And the Wild West was romantic, it was free, it was open, anything was possible, but was also violent and lawless and unbelievably cruel.
And you can't have the freedom without the danger.
Not with this architecture. The anonymity and the ephemerality are the same tools that allow for both incredible creativity and incredible evil. If you give people a mask, some will use it to tell truth to power, and some will use it to hurt people for fun. 4chan proves that humans are capable of both, often in the same thread, just seconds apart.
And this lawsuit with Ofcom, that's really the core question, isn't it? It's asking, is the Wild West even allowed to exist in 2026?
Precisely. The modern world and modern governments want safety. They want curated spaces. We want to know who is speaking. We want accountability. We want to ban the hate speech. But if you sanitize the entire internet, if you force everyone to use their real ID, if you moderate every single comment, you might lose the chaotic primordial souk that created the culture we now take for granted.
And you might lose the pressure valve.
That's the scary thought, isn't it? If 4chan disappears tomorrow, where do those 22 million people go? Do they just stop being angry or creative or weird?
No.
Or do they go somewhere darker, somewhere harder to track, and somewhere even more radical?
So the final provocative thought for you, the listener, is this. In a world of increasing digital surveillance and carefully curated online identities, is a space like 4chan a dangerous relic that needs to be destroyed? Or is it a necessary, ugly pressure valve for the weirdest and worst parts of humanity?
If you close the sewer, the pipes might just burst in your own basement.
A grim image to end on.
But a necessary one. This is the reality of the deep web. It's not pretty, but we have to be willing to look at it.
Indeed. Thank you for listening. This has been The Deep Dive.
Stay safe out there.